Everyone, thank you for joining our virtual open house today. We're thrilled to have you here. Today, we will be talking about several aspects of the International School of Panama. I will guide you through the agenda. We will talk about general aspects about ISP, the best future for your children. We will talk about inclusion, blended learning, athletics, critical thinking. We will go through some of the main or key topics of admissions. We will talk about social emotional learning, and there's also space for Q&A. Oh, I'm sorry, I understand that the presentation, that you can't see the presentation. Is that correct? Let me share my screen once again. Sorry about that. Is the presentation available to everyone now? Can I get a thumbs up? Thank you. So, as I was saying, we will talk about some key points of admissions. We have a very special guest to talk to social emotional learning. There is a space for Q&A. You can send your questions throughout this meeting, and interpretation is also available. So make sure to make use of it if you need it. It's from English to Spanish. It is my pleasure to introduce our head of school, Dr. Audrey Menard.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be streaming live from our Visual Performing and Arts Center. We have a tremendous fine arts program that includes opportunities for kids to learn about creativity from a million different ways. And we all know that that is a skill that can be used in the future for any job at any time that your children may look for. It's also a way for kids to find strengths that they never knew existed, and you will have millions of opportunities to participate in just appreciating art. Before I get started, I did want to reiterate what Lizbeth just said, that if you just are popping in, there's a little button at the bottom about interpretation. So if you want to hear this in Spanish, feel free to click on that and you will hear live translations. In addition to that, also at the bottom, you'll see a Q&A. So at any time you have questions, please type them in there. We'll either answer them, while the presentation's going, or of course at the end for our live Q&A. So again, I just wanted to reiterate those things. Going to the next slide. ISP is a really special place. First of all, it's the only not-for-profit school in Panama that is a non-secular school. And what that means is that every dollar that you pay to our school goes directly to your child's education. It is not going into the pockets of shareholders or board members. In fact, our board members are just a wonderful group of parents that are just giving their time. They're volunteers, and they just give their time to help ensure that the school's running, effectively. That allows us to be, I would say, a student-centered organization. Instead of worrying about how much profit we can eke out for our stakeholders, we're able to do everything, plan everything, align everything to our students, because that's who we're here to serve. And so I think that makes us a special commodity as well in the Panama area. We are fully credentialed by many, many organizations from around the world. They've all given us credentials that recognize we are a top-notch school. And we don't just meet these expectations, we exceed these expectations in all of these organizations. Additionally, we are recognized by both Mensa and Maduka here as a safe school. And that award has been handed to a small group of schools that are able to officially open now in Panama. We have not only gone above and beyond what we need to do, but we are now being used in Panama as an example, as an exemplar to other schools on how to open, what our protocols have been, how to keep our students safe. And it's very exciting to see that we've had almost zero transmissions on campus. We have one maybe, but other than that, we've had no transmissions on campus, and our kids have been really safe throughout this entire time we've been able to be open. And to that end, we are thriving now full day on campus. What that looks like in the rest of the country, most kids haven't even gone back to school. We were the first school in Panama to get our kids back on campus in a hybrid fashion, where we were able to work with kids every other day and for a half day, but at least we were on campus learning and experiencing social times, which was really important to but not just our students, but our faculty as well. And then now we've been able to further expand that to we are now on campus full days, every day, 5 days a week. And I'm sure you're curious about how next year will look. We certainly don't plan to go back, but we can't yet fully open where everybody's coming back every day yet. We're ready to do that the minute Mensa and Maduka decide that we can follow the CDC protocols to go back to 1 meter of distance between children. We'll be able to welcome everyone back. But until they change that, we will need to continue with an every other day focus. And the kids that'll come, the PK3 and PK4 kids next year, we've figured out how to allow them to come every day. So those students will come every day like it used to be. However, that means we've had to cap the number of students allowed on campus. For the grades K through 12, we will do an A day and a B day, where the kids come in one day, half the kids will be in class without, they're face-to-face learning in the classroom with their teachers. And then they will continue that learning the second day at home. And what that may look like is listening to a lecture that the teacher's pre-recorded. It may be working with small groups with other kids on a particular project. It may be doing research. It may be reading, doing basic content creation. So, and then they'll move back to the next day and the kids will alternate. But so that's what we're looking at until we can have them all come back on campus. So with that said, I really love to talk about what makes learning special at ISP. And for that, I'm going to just pass it to Kyle, where he's going to tell you, he's our middle school principal, and he can just tell you what we do to prepare your kids for tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Menard, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before I begin, I want to just ask a quick question. I want you to think wherever you might be in the world, maybe talk to some people who are next to you. If we think a year from now, the June of 2022, I want you to think about what your child would be after an amazing year. So what kind of skills would they have? What characteristics would they be showing? And my guess would be that your list is very, very similar to ours. So we want students, of course, who are curious, who are just joyful and happy to be on campus. We want students who are independent and who can think creatively and solve problems. And so as we think about preparing students for their best future, we need to think differently about education. And at ISP, we're really pushing the envelope in that regard. We're working hard to think of the skill sets students need to be successful in this next generation, which is very different from maybe when we were in school. And so at ISP, we're working hard to promote collaboration. It's such an important skill for the future, and we want students who leave ISP to be really comfortable working with anyone and everyone and doing so in a really effective way. We want students to think creatively and outside the box. We want them to have imagination. We want them to be innovative. And we definitely have a strong emphasis on finding solutions to problems that are facing the world. We have a myriad of problems across the world. We want our students to wrestle with those and help us find solutions for the future. And while that's all nice on paper, how do we do it is I think something that really separates us from a number of other schools. And so one big emphasis at ISP is inquiry. We try to ask great questions to spark curiosity and then give students the space to find those answers for themselves. We really take time to know and value every single student who comes to our campus, because we know that everyone is different and unique and brings a lot to the table. And we take the time to get to know every single child who joins us. Through that lens, we know that just relationships matter. And so regardless of if you're in pre-K3 or all the way through 12th grade, we have a strong emphasis on social emotional learning and connecting with kids. And so I can speak very much for the middle school. And I know Sydney in a few moments will maybe echo some of these. Our advisory program in the middle school is a really strong part of what we do. When we go to high school, I know they have advisory. They have the link crew in elementary school. They use responsive classroom, and just our emphasis on relationships is super crucial. The last one I think that maybe separates us from a number of other schools is that we really prioritizing, we prioritize giving kids a space to find their passions. And so whether it's different elective choices that they have on campus or after school activities in the visual and performing arts center that Dr. Menard was in, it's our STEM labs, it's our athletic fields. We really take the time to let kids find what they love, because we know that's going to drive them in the future. And so just understanding that every child is different. I'm going to now pass it over to Elias Barlow, who's our coordinator of inclusion, and he oversees our amazing team of learning support specialists, including our gifted and talented program. Elias, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I'm here to speak about inclusion, what it means to us as a school. We really value and believe there's strength in diversity. For us at ISP, inclusion means that we aspire to be a school that's representative of the neurodiversity that your child will find in the world. That means that across grade levels, we're going to have about 10 to 15% of our student population with varying needs, whether gifted or with learning needs or with English language needs. And we really believe that having a neurodiverse representation in our classroom enhances the learning environment for all children and our staff. That means for your child, when they come to our school, they're going to socialize and work with a range of peers with different strengths, different needs, different languages, and potentially different physical abilities. It's really going to prepare them for the world that they're going to encounter when they leave our school. Like, key to this is developing compassionate and caring leaders of the future, right? You only, by encountering more neurodiverse population, it's going to develop those skills that you need as a leader to step out into the world. We really go back to like the strength in diversity, and we believe that diversity challenges students and staff to think critically and become leaders able to challenge assumptions, to explore alternative approaches and like give solutions to real world problems. This is a really important understanding to our culture of inclusivity at ISP. At our school, we use a multi-tiered systems of support to approach for all learners. As we're doing this, considerations are given to the whole child. We're thinking about their social emotional well-being. We're thinking about their behaviors. We're thinking about their academics. We're really thinking about how to meaningfully meet all of those needs. Really fundamental to this is that we have teachers who are going to create inclusive lessons that plan for the variability of all learners that they encounter in their classroom. This includes students learning English, students with learning needs, and students who are gifted. And key to this is having specialized teachers and counselors working with classroom teachers to support the meeting the needs of these learners, with planning, with stepping into the classroom, supporting, and with pulling out. And as we have these inclusive classrooms, we're providing targeted support in a kind of pull-out model with English as an additional language and with our advanced learners program, as well as counseling. And these services are really part of a family and school partnership. We work with the student and we work with the families in order to meet these range of needs that we have. What this may look like is our counselor reaching out to support a transition into the school, working with teachers and families to provide social emotional support, like both in the classroom and out of the classroom. For our learning support team, that means that it could look like the learning support teacher going into the classroom and providing interventions for reading, writing, math, social skills, or executive function. We also support a range of learners that may be on the spectrum of autism, and we're working to develop social skills as they work to interact with peers and teachers. And we also work with students who are gifted and diagnosed with ADHD. And these twice gifted exceptional students may have a range of needs where we go out of our way to meet both of their needs, both with attentional and with extending their learning. For our advanced learners program, one thing that we do is we have universal screening in grades 2. And we use that process to really drive planning and working in the classroom to support the needs of these students. Additionally, our counselors will work with these students to identify a toolkit that will support their needs and help them to move forward with their talents. Our EAL program, if you're coming to us with English language needs, will provide targeted language support in English, and we use the WIDA to track and measure growth over time. And key to this work with UDL is, as we're working to meet the needs of these learners, we have transitioned into blended learning, which helps provide even further opportunities to engage with learning. I'd like to pass the mic to Samuel Alcazur to explain blended learning a bit more.
Thank you, and again, welcome. My name is Summer Alcalter, and I am the Blended Learning Specialist here at ISP. And this past year has taught us to be flexible and ready for anything. So blended learning is a model that uses technology to give students some choice over the pace of what they learn, where they're learning, and the structure of their learning. And this has allowed ISP to be prepared for multiple learning scenarios and adapt quickly to keep students learning during the current pandemic. But looking beyond the pandemic, it also connects students and teachers globally to one another, to career experts, and to other schools. And learning experiences are no longer limited to campus and can happen anywhere in a physical classroom here at school, at home in Panama, or anywhere around the world. And one way that we're achieving that goal is to provide all elementary school students at ISP with an iPad, and all middle school and high school students have the option to bring the laptop or the tablet of their choice. In addition, ISP invests in multiple digital learning tools, and these are softwares, devices, apps that empower students for active learning, to create their own content, to show what they know and what they can do, to think critically, to solve problems in their community. And with the tools we have available, students might create a video, they might record a podcast, they might build a website, create a 3D model, or even their own app. They might collaborate with students or experts in another country, and the list goes on. And as Elias mentioned, ISP uses digital tools to create a more personalized learning experience for each student. Every student has unique needs, and we want that to be highlighted in how they learn and what their learning path looks like. So this might look like a teacher creating a menu of different resources so that students have multiple pathways for how they learn a new skill or a new concept. And teachers can conference with students in person, through video chat, in small groups, or individually, and they can track progress and help students to reflect on where they're being successful and what is challenging. Another quick example is a website that we use called Newsela. And this is a library of articles in both English and Spanish that adapt to multiple different reading levels. So students have access to reading and learning materials no matter where they are on their journey to learn a new language. Technology also provides additional opportunities for interaction and faster feedback loops between teachers and parents and students. So a teacher might use an interactive slide deck where students can instantly respond to questions, giving all students the opportunity to communicate and engage, no matter if they're shy or more outspoken. The teacher can use the responses to tailor the next lesson based on the needs of each student. Another example is even our younger students can create short videos or audio clips, and they can explain their thinking or describe how they solved a problem. And teachers can respond again with face-to-face dialogue in the classroom, as well as written or audio feedback that students can listen to as many times as they need to. And these digital tools speed up the progress or the process of monitoring progress. And they identify areas where students need additional support more quickly, or identify where a student excels and needs to accelerate to new content. But again, as we've mentioned, the education of the whole child is incredibly important at ISP. The academic aspect combined with our physical and mental health, and the physical and mental health of students. So here to tell you more about our athletics and after school opportunities is Fernando Archila, who is our athletic director. Over to you.
Thank you, Summer. My name is Fernando Archila. I'm going to be the next athletic director. And before I get started, I want you to imagine, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Can you imagine a higher percentage of children and youth choosing to stay active and healthy through the school years? Or even more, can you imagine a higher percentage of people pursuing a sport of their choice or being physically active for life? We are sure that a successful, positive experience in sport can make that happen. The goal of quality education-based athletics is to create positive experiences and enduring lifelong lessons in supportive environments. Quality sport is developmentally appropriate, safe, inclusive, and well-run. Another way of saying this is that quality sport consists of good programs led by good coaches in good places like ISP. Simply put, quality sport means more physically active kids and adults holistically developed. Healthy individuals, in turn, can make positive contributions to society. Here in ISP, we operate an educational-based and competitive athletic program. We create sport participation experiences that are progressive, welcoming, developmentally appropriate, safe, and inclusive. We offer a wide range of sports experiences to our students, such as track and field, swimming, tennis, basketball, volleyball, soccer, and flag football, from elementary school, middle school, to high school. Student participation in education-based athletics is a privilege, enriches the educational experience, encourages academic achievement, promotes respect, integrity, and sportsmanship, prepares for the future in a global community, develops leadership and life skills, promotes healthy lifestyles and safety competition, fosters the inclusion of diverse populations, encourages positive school community culture, and last but not least, it's fun. Our enduring hope is that the lessons learned in the sporting arena will remain with students for a lifetime. To achieve this, our program focuses on a three-dimensional approach, which is based on the fundamentals of the sport, the mind, and the moral character. It's important to talk about the moral character because we follow a sportsmanship model built on the idea that athletics both demonstrates and also encourages character development, which then influences the moral character of the broader community. As you may know, the goal in sportsmanship is to pursue victory with honor by giving one's best effort. We demand and require and expect to develop 4 key virtues that we emphasize in all our practices and competitions: fairness, integrity, responsibility, and respect. We're also part of the Association of American Schools of Central America, which is a group of 28 international schools spanning 6 countries. ASCA is our biggest priority for international competitions. We also participate in a variety of local competitions across the different sports that we offer. Finally, we're proud to say that we have been recognized with the level 1 status within the National Federation of State High School Associations School Honor Roll Program due to the level of professional training our coaches have received. We are the very first school in Latin America and the second school in the world to be recognized. This U.S. national distinction honors the dedication and commitment that ISP and coaches have to our students and to education-based programs. Our coaches have been equipped with research-based and student-centered curriculum. In ISP, we value the professional development of our coaches and the learning experience of our students. Our commitment to professional development creates a better experience for the young people participating. And speaking to recognitions and certificates, let me introduce you to Mark Ketterhagen, our next high school principal, that will talk about how we're building a better world, one critical thinking at a time.
Fernando, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Ketterhagen. I'm the incoming high school principal, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with you today. Fernando just touched on a bit this idea that at ISP, our notion of sportsmanship is not limited to the athletic field. And that same concept applies to what we do in the classroom. What I mean by that is the goal of what we do with students in classrooms is not to teach them to be better classroom learners. The goal instead, bigger than that, is to teach them to be active world citizens, to be active participants in the real world with solving problems and making our world a better place. And we start this with this idea of inquiry and making sure that as educators, every teacher, every school leader here is thinking about, are we putting students at the center of their own learning? Are we asking them to think really critically about the world around them? Instead of, are we providing them with all the information that they need to hear? We want to make sure our students are asking really difficult questions, questioning the world around them, questioning the knowledge that we provide them, so that when they walk out of our classroom walls, they're questioning the world and challenging things around them that they want to improve. If you could go to the next slide, that would be wonderful. Panmoon may be something you've heard of. If it isn't, I want you to think of a few things. Imagine currently to what degree your child is being presented with solving a real world problem. Is your child, whatever his or her age, being asked to look at things happening around the world and figure out ways with their peers to solve them? Imagine if your child is being asked to investigate how do we address the economic impact of COVID-19, particularly on individuals who live in poverty? Or How have recent world events affected inequality in Panama or in Latin America? We push our students to do those things by asking all students at our high school to participate in an event called Panamoon. Panamoon involves more than 500 students, schools from across 12 different countries, and puts students at the center of the learning and teaching, where students collaborate, they negotiate, they work with each other to determine true meaning and true solutions to real world problems. That's what Panamoon is. This is one small example of how we take what our students have learned in the classroom and have them apply it to things outside the classroom. If you could click to the next slide, please, that would be wonderful. That's one example, but there are many others of when we're taking our students out of a traditional classroom environment and we're taking them on service trips. We're helping them travel to communities to install solar panels. We're helping them understand and question the world around them so they can be empowered to address real world problems. Just like our sports programs are more than about athletic competition, our academic programs are so much more than just about classroom instruction and just about preparation for tests. We're pushing our students to be real world critical thinkers and future world leaders, and of that, I'm really proud. I'd now like to introduce you to someone who you may already know, Helmi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for being here with us. And this is a great opportunity, and this is the best place to start in order to determine if ISP is the right fit for your family. At Enrollment and Records, we know that choosing a school is not an easy decision. That's why we want to make sure that you have all the information you need before you move forward with the admissions process. And here, in these few minutes, you've heard firsthand about the essential elements that your children will experience at ISP. And if these elements align with your educational priorities, then you're in the right place. And before I explain a little bit about our admissions process, I just want to tell you that right after my very brief presentation, you'll get to meet a current student at ISP, and she will tell you her experience firsthand. Right now, and I think moving forward, our admissions process will take place online entirely. So you're able to secure a seat for your children even before you move to Panama. To get started, right after this open house, I will send out an email with the first steps to get started with the application process. There's an online form where you have to fill in documentation and answer a few questions. And once that's completed, we will be following up and making sure that internally we review the candidate's application and get a decision from our side as soon as possible. And the decision is basically based on whether the school can meet your child's needs moving forward. I won't take much of your time anymore, so we honestly can't wait to meet all of you and guide you and support you in this process. And with that, I will introduce you to Sydney Newman. She's a current 7th grader, but she's been at ISP since 2016. So I'm sure she has a lot to say about her experience here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for popping in and taking time to listen. My name is Sydney Newman, and I'm a 7th grader here at ISP. I've been in ISP since 3rd grade, but before my family moved to Panama, we traveled from country to country about every 3 years due to my dad's career. When we arrived in Panama and the school year started, everything was different from where I had lived previously. I noticed the way of teaching was drastically different in the way my teachers interacted with me and my peers. It was easy to make friends here, no matter what year I've been in or what club I was in. At ISP, there are different people from different places and with unique personalities that have always allowed me to feel safe and authentic. Being at ISP has not only given me the privilege to an engaging education, but also providing opportunities to participate in extracurricular activities. From debate team to United Nations to the Student Representative Council, there is always something going on to inspire adventure and learning. The athletics program is something I feel lucky enough to be a part of. The sports division is an all-inclusive community where you can try anything. All the kids and coaches are amazing in the way they are enthusiastic and what they're passionate about. To be a dolphin means exemplifying the five character traits ISP encourages: to be authentic, compassionate, principled, adventurous, independent, and joyful. Once a dolphin, always a dolphin. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, Sydney. Now, so we have a few minutes for questions and answers. You can pop your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of the frame that you have on your screen. I can only see one, so I don't know if Mark, maybe you want to take this one. And it says, you know, how does ISP ensure that students can, oh, I think you already answered it. Ensure that students can explore their interests at a high school level?
Yeah, sorry about that, Helmi. I didn't realize it would disappear. But the person was asking a question about the multiple pathways and ways we capitalize on building student interest. And I think it's now under the answered column there. But just to verbalize the answer, that we do that in a couple ways. First, we have several pathways at the high school that students can select that capitalize upon their interests and their goals for after high school. They could enroll in IB, which opens up several different college options for them. They could choose to enter our Innovation and Entrepreneurship Certificate Program, which is a program really unique to ISP if they're interested in design, in change theory, and some of the colleges that are really interested in design and engineering thinking. A third option would be they could explore the arts. And they also students are also able to choose from a very wide range of electives. For everything from robotics to theater to product design to ceramics, to build their schedule upon their interests. And I didn't get to enumerate all of the clubs and extracurriculars that we have at the high school, but there are so many clubs that I'm still discovering some of them. Virtually anything that students are interested in, we encourage them to open up a club, and so many of our students are involved in various clubs that happened during and after school. So there's a lot of different ways that students can explore their interests here at the high school.
Thank you, Mark. Then the next question, well, just to briefly answer, the first day of class is August 5th this year. But as Dr. Menard mentioned initially, if you haven't arrived for August 5th, we will have the option of distance learning. And yes, we will share the recording with you. After the meeting, I will send out an email with the recording if you'd like to share it with the rest of the family or see it with your prospective students. We have another question that says, can you give us a typical day for a student, for example, a sixth grader? How will their day go with all the great offerings you have? That would be for Kyle.
That is such a phenomenal question. I can't wait to answer it. We, in the middle school, students will have 4 classes per day, in addition to advisory, or what we're referring to as a WIN block, which is a block, WIN stands for what I need. And so it's a block very much designed for what each individual student needs. And so for some students that might be working one-on-one with a teacher, for others that might be some math support, for others it might be an extension opportunity in the STEM lab. It's very much student driven and student led. So to get back to your question though, there are 4 periods per day. In the 6th grade specifically, all students will have our core classes. And so let's see if I can do this: math, Spanish, English, social studies, science, physical education. And then for a semester, they'll have STEM and art. And then for a semester, they'll have theater and music. And so in 6th grade, there's not a much choice in terms of those electives yet. In 7th and 8th grade, though, they do have options. And so students in 7th and 8th grade, like Sydney, have the option to choose from, I believe, 8 different elective options to fill those 2 different slots. And so students will have the 4 classes one day, they'll have 4 different classes the next day, and it'll continue to rotate like that.
That's perfect. Thank you, Kyle. There's another question that says, how many kids are there per school year? And that varies depending on the division, but on average per classroom, we'll have a maximum, I think, of 22 students, regardless of the division. But per year, for example, in high school, it's between 90 and 100 students per year. But again, since they have so many classes and so many different offerings, they're pretty much split up in different classes, no? The next question we have, I love hearing, sorry, they're moving so fast, I can't read all of them. I love everything I'm hearing about the school. My daughter will be 3 in October. I would love to know more about the pre-K process. She comes from a Montessori Waldorf background, and I would love her education to be aligned with those principles. I can talk briefly about pre-K. I don't know if maybe Audrey might want to complement this. So if she turns 3, do you want to start, Audrey, or?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm well schooled in Montessori and love it very much, and it does absolutely complement our model here. We don't focus just on learning the alphabet or learning the English language. We work on what's developmentally appropriate for kids at that age, and it involves all areas, from social, emotional to just their growth and ability to movement, and it also, they learn through play, and there's just a lot of wonderful ways that our kids grow, and it is very much aligned with the Waldorf Montessori approach, and that the kids have a lot of choice in the process. And it's just amazing, even in the pandemic, to see how much our kids have grown from when they first start to the end of this school year. They're just independent, they're creative, they're confident. It's really a wonderful program. I would say it stands out very strongly among any school in Panama. You want to add to that, Helmi?
No, I think that was very complete. That was fantastic. Thank you. And then there's another question for a student that will be entering 2nd grade. He does not speak Spanish. How will his lack of Spanish be addressed? I don't know, maybe if Elias, you might want to get that one.
Yeah, depending on the level, on assessment and entering the school, the EAL teachers will determine the level of need, and based off of that, will provide a variety of supports. That could be supports within the classroom, where the teacher will go in there and support either literacy or a unit of inquiry, or it could be pull-out services where they work to pre-teach and reteach concepts that they're learning in the classroom, so they have the vocabulary and understanding to work with what the teacher is working with, so that they can apply their learning. And if the child is a newcomer, then that means that you're going to increase the amount of frequency that the EAL teacher would work with that student for a period of time. And so a lot of the services that we have at our school, whether EAL or learning support, are needs-based. And we go out of our ways to meet the individual needs of every learner that we have on our campus.
Perfect. Thank you, Elias. And I'm gonna go back to you with another question that says, what kind of support is offered to students diagnosed with ADHD?
Just like the EAL students, we look at each of our students individually and see what their needs are. If your child has a diagnosed learning need, oftentimes you'll have a neuropsychological evaluation that we will read through and then work with the psychologist in order to develop a plan to meet the needs of that child on campus, educating and supporting the mainstream classroom and ensuring that that child spends as much time as possible in the mainstream classroom and develops the skills that they need to self-regulate and kind of manage their own learning environment as much as possible, as much as they can independently do.
Thank you, Elias. And then the next question, I see there's a few questions about onboarding new students, and then specifically about onboarding new students in middle school. So I'll talk a little bit about the general onboarding process, and then I'll leave Kyle to sort of add his part in middle school. Right now, we're preparing all the activities for onboarding new students, and we're already having info sessions for the students that are confirmed to start in August to make sure that they're prepared in terms of uniforms, they have all the information in terms of transportation, and everything they might need to get started. From there, we usually have an orientation day, which is the day before school starts. So in this case, it would be August 4th. And obviously in August 5th, which is the first day of school, then there's a series of supports in place depending on the different divisions. And Kyle can talk specifically to middle school. But on top of that, I think there's a very important component for us at ISP, and that's welcoming the families into the ISP community. And in that sense, understanding that there's a few families that will not arrive for the first day of class, a few weeks into class, we're planning on doing a welcoming lunch, either a barbecue or something that includes parents and current parents and new students and our staff. So you get well acquainted and actually feel the warmth of ISP in our community.
Thanks, Helmi. Can I jump in for the middle school specifics? So to build on what Helmi said, we have in the middle school, and I know each division has this, but student ambassadors. And so these are students who really exemplify the character profile characteristics that Sydney had mentioned a few moments ago. And we ask them to come in a day or two before the school year starts to get to know all of our students. And so we strategically place students based on obviously the information that Helmi gives us and that we learn through interviews to make sure that your student has a connection for their first day of school. And so when they come in, they meet with their student ambassador. We typically do a number of different community building games and activities. They have a chance to get their technology set up and have their schedule. They get a tour to make sure they know where everything is. And again, the priority is socially connecting them and plugging them into our community, but also just making sure that on day one, they feel comfortable. We want this to be a really safe and comfortable place for kids. And that is our priority during that time. I know each division does something very, very similar. At the high school level with Mark, they have the link crew who comes back and welcomes all the students. And I know at elementary, they have similar structures. And so we take that onboarding process very seriously because we know how crucial it is for you as parents, but also for all of your kids.
Thank you, Kyle. There's another question I think that Dr. Menard might take this one. It says, I would like to know if costs are same or if you have implemented a type of discount or flexible ways for payment.
Hi, sure, I'm happy to take that one. As we mentioned, we're a not-for-profit school. So everything we have goes towards providing the best possible education. And in this hybrid setting where we have students on campus every day, we really aren't saving any costs. In fact, with all the biosecurity protocols that we've put in place on our campus, it's actually more expensive to run school in this fashion. So we are not able to give discounts at this point. What we can say is that, our finance office is happy to work with you if you need to have some sort of a different payment plan for a short period or whatever. We're flexible and always want to support our families. But as far as costs, we really, nothing's cheaper, unfortunately. We're finding everything to be more expensive. But I promise you that while we are not an inexpensive school, I would say we're a smoking deal for the cost because you're getting world-class educators. Our kids love coming to school and you'll see them grow tremendously. Thanks.
Thank you, Audrey. There's a few questions regarding admissions, so I'll go ahead and answer those. So it says, will the school be open during the month of July for enrollment? We manage rolling admissions, so school is open for enrollment all year. Obviously, it's ideal if you're coming in August to have a little bit of lead time to review the application and make sure we're not super running for the beginning of the school year. But yes, we receive applications all throughout the year. And then there's another question. Do you have mid-year enrollment for kids coming from South America whose school year ends in December? Yes, again, in terms of timing for enrollment, we're open the whole year. For kids that are coming from a local school calendar that goes from March to December, and when they transition to an international school calendar, it's important to note that they will probably enroll in the same grade that they have finished in December. So for example, if they finish 6th grade in December, they will enroll in January in 6th grade, and they would do the second semester of 6th grade. And that's because they can't skip a full semester. And either way, some parents, perceive this as they're being held back, but they're not, because they're still in the same promotion as their peers that are graduating in December. So they would go to college at the same time. For onboarding, yes, we're considering having virtual sessions. We're actually starting with virtual sessions right now before the summer. So we're definitely finding ways to accommodate families that don't arrive on time. What are the possibilities of joining if the family moves to Panama later than August? Again, we will be offering distance learning, at least for the first semester, probably the full school year. So we would be able to accommodate that as well. It says, is there parents' activities or possibility of using sports facilities? I think this is for Fernando.
Yeah, thank you, Helmi, for passing over. Yes, we have, for example, for parents' activities, there is a soccer team made up from parents, And also there is a possibility of using sport facilities, especially during the weekends. We have a soccer field, tennis court, a swimming pool, and a track also in our synthetic field. And basically we use those sport facilities during the school day, and that's our priority, and also after school for the athletics program. But there is a possibility for parents to use the facilities, of course. Another thing that we have to take into consideration is the COVID protocols that we're following right now. So as of today, we are not allowing parents to use the facilities, but it's something that we consider to start implementing after we have new protocols from the Minister of Education and the Health Minister as well.
Thank you, Fernando. So we'll take one last question, and I think we've answered most of them anyway. And this might be a little bit more for Dr. Menard. It says, oops, it moved. One of my questions is regarding MINSA and Meduca's protocols, and how is ISP projecting to adapt new decrees or plans to fully reopen?
This is my life on an almost hourly basis. We are in close contact, not only just with the government entities, but even with the ministra herself, as far as Meduca goes. We all meet regularly. Anytime a new protocol comes out from either entity, we're the first ones to read it. And we're forward thinking, and there's been many times where we've been reached out to and told, you know, based on these new protocols, you can't do X, Y, or Z, and we've been able to work around that. We've sat down with them, we've worked out, well, look at what we're doing. We're actually doing above and beyond, so our schools shouldn't qualify to be held back in these ways. And time again, they've allowed us to continue. So, and not only were we the first school to be back on campus, we will continue to be the first school leading the way in getting everyone back to normal as soon as we can. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Audrey. And thank you everyone again for your time and for being here. We really appreciate it, and we really look forward to being in contact with you. It's been our pleasure seeing everybody. Thank you.